Good morning, Rabbi Sai. For Shlema, for Aliza, Tova, Bas, Esther, Gronã, יקותיאל, Moshe ben Sor, Pנחס, Elihu, Menachem, טילי-ה, Simcha, Aliza, Bas, Kloriu, the YOSSI, and Rivka, Esther. Sponsored by Yochanan Itzkowitz in memory of a Bochor, Reb Shmuel ben Mordechai Zichron Levracha Shmuli Silverberg, who was tragically taken from us yesterday in front of his yeshiva in Denver. May today's learning be a schus for Neshama. Thank you, Yochanan. Beautiful. Here's an email from, first of all, I wanted to show you this unbelievable picture. According to Mark Ashkenazi, this was the most shocking of all the shiurim we had. This was Motzei Shabbos, almost the last minute kind of thing. I think Friday we weren't even sure where, how, when. And over 100 people showed up in the 5 towns for a shiur. Unbelievable. Yeah, I think it was one of the big highlights. That and Lakewood. Lakewood is a big shocker. I'm not putting any else down, but in terms of shocking, that was a big shocker. Miami was a little bit of a shock. The kids are... here's a genius, a guy that's Marash. I love these. Here's about Kishrim. Just wanted to point out that that you forgot your phone in America is such a mussar lesson for all of us, because in today's world, people are so attracted to the phones that if there's one thing that they won't forget is their phone. But by you forgetting it, shows where your ikr focus is, which is Torah Givaldik. Mamash, I didn't think of it. Givaldik. I got my phone back. Rabbi said, don't worry about it. I got it back. Baruch Hashem, it's back. I was relieved. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to speak to anybody. It was unbelievable. It was Givaldik vacation. So excited to finish the parak with you today, Emir Hashem. My first full one since I started with you. Shekayach, Simcha, Shmuel, Solomon. Thank you, Simcha. Geschmack to be a Yid, it says over here. I've been meaning to reach out to you for a little bit, just hasn't worked. My name is Evan. I'm 25 years old, currently learning in Eshat Torah in Yerushalayim, Balchuva from Westchester, New York. Got a whole story, but not for this email. I listen to Meaningful People podcasts, having no clue who you are, along with having seen an advertisement on Yeshiva News, coinciding right around the time my grandfather passed away. I decided to start up Succah in his honor. Doing the daf kept me in consistent seder while back in New York for Ben Azmanim, and I've really come to appreciate all the amazing work that you do. It is remarkable to see how much Torah you learn. Guys see me all different backgrounds, with all different exposures and feelings towards Gemara. I appreciate being able to be part of what feels like the Jewish world, hearing all of the different communities, though I've been exposed to very few. Hashem aligned so much to make this a Masechta. I started learning the daf. As I mentioned, fathers passed away right around start of Masechta. On top of my father passed away from ALS a few weeks after Sukkot 2018. That was his grandfather's father. That year was my second year celebrating Sukkot. B'kitzur, his father was not observant, but his last mitzvah that he did was shaking the lulav and esrog with his help. I'm grateful to have been part of this journey with the Chabura. It's very special. I feel the warmth of who you are, and every so often when an email sponsorship can get you a little emotional. And it's a powerful thing to sound when you care. Okay, now that Yeshiva is back in the grind, this is the sad part, Rabbi Sai. Somebody needs to reach out to him. Now that Yeshiva is back in the grind, I don't think I'll be continuing with the shiur after Sukkah. Oy vavoy! Time-wise just makes me have to rush, and the learning doesn't feel strong enough on my side. So this siyum I plan to celebrate with a full heart for my father and for my grandfather. Thank you for helping me make it possible. I look forward to finishing up the Masechta with all of you. You should be blessed and continue to grow this year. Bring the beauty of Gemara and learning to all Jews all over the world. You and your wife and your kids, who I'm sure have to sacrifice to make this all possible, should be blessed with a healthy physical and spiritual life. Amen. To continue to grow and developing an authentic relationship with Hashem, and all your prayers should be heard and answered. Would love to come for a Shabbos. Evan, Mendel, Yishkoyach Evan, absolutely, just reach out. Daf Burma, all those seminary people and Bachurim. There's we have room. We have on Shabbos and we have Bachurim, Shabbos Bachurim, Shabbos girls. So Daf Burma. How you doing, Shmuli Bernhardt? Shalom Aleichem. Long time no see. Rabbi Sai, it's only 14 days to the Siyum. 14 days, 2 weeks. Be'ez Hashem, Thursday, I believe, is the Siyum. Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. Wednesday, I think. Wednesdays is the same. I'm not even sure. So here we are, Daf Beis, Amud Beis, on the bottom. So the question is, on Shabbos Chol Hamoed, we don't bring a lulav to shul. We don't check a lulav. Amai, why not? Tiltul ba'almahu. We're talking about muktzah here. Muktzah, a stone, something that has no value, something that's not a kli, a piece of wood. What's a lulav? A lulav doesn't have much value. Arava, in terms, if it was in the middle of a regular Shabbos during the year, it's nothing. It's not a kli. So it's only muktzah. Velitchi Shabbos. How could a isser of muktzah, the Rabbanan, push off the chiyuv, the eraisa of a lulav? Omerabba, the famous concept, Gzeira, Shemoi, Taleno, Yitleno, Biyodoi, Viyelech, Yitzalboki, Lilmoit. Yavireno, Arba Amois, Bishus, Harabim. So the concern is that somebody, especially if you daven Nusach Sfard, here's a raya to Nusach Sfard. It's so complicated, you have to go ask a rabbi how to do it. So you go ask how to make a bracha, how to shake the lulav, all the things. Like I mentioned once, I'll mention again. Maybe I didn't mention it correctly. I looked in the Mishnah Berurah again, so maybe I said it wrong. As you go forward, at the end, you go like this, a shake, you come back, a shake. You do this 3 times. Shake over there, shake over here. It's funny, the Mishnah Berurah says, be careful, don't shake like a madman because you're going to break the tumus. Be careful how you shake. Okay, so you do a little shake, But you might go ask somebody, so the concern is you're going to walk 4 amas in Rosh Hashanah, or you're going to take it from Rosh Hashanah from your house into Rosh Hashanah, which is not as common, says Rashi. 4 amas in Rosh Hashanah. That's the exact reason why we don't blow a shofar on Rosh Hashanah that falls out on Shabbos. It's important to mention the nays. Last year during COVID, so we were concerned. We made a small, tiny minyan in MDY, 10 people, 11 people, and we needed a Balkaira, we needed a Baltakeya, so nobody could blow. I said, well, I once blew an Elul for L'David Hashemayri once in my life. So, okay, I became the official Baltakeya. And believe it or not, I mean, the Menachem says, who said that it's true, but I did not make a single mistake. As far as I know, like it could be the whole thing was a mistake, but the tkiyas came out, the true was everything straight from beginning to end. It was literally a nes nigla. If I tried it again, it would never happen. Okay, shofar. Shofar you don't blow on Shabbos. V'hainu time of the Megillah. And that's why we don't lay in the Megillah on Purim that falls out on Shabbos. There's a beautiful shaila here. What happens if a person goes ahead and shakes a lulav on Shabbos? He doesn't care about Takanas Chachamim. Was he yaita? Did Chachamim uproot the mitzvah completely? Or they say you shouldn't do it? What's an afkemina? Do you make a brach on the second day? Could he say shechiyanu? If they uprooted the mitzvah completely, he wasn't yaita at all. If he was yaita, then he shouldn't make a bracha the second day. So believe it or not, a lot of poskim say that he was yaita. And it's a whole nice nidain. Why? Because as we're going to see, there's a major question here that Rashi brings up. How could Chachamim say, don't do a mitzvah that's in the Torah? Torah says you should shake a lulav on Shabbos. And then, no, you don't shake a lulav on Shabbos, because you might come to walk in Rosh Hashanah. They could be oiker a mitzvah d'oraisa. They could uproot a mitzvah. So Rashi answers, like the Gemara says, the Gemara already asked this question, Menachas. The answer is because Chacham just said, don't do the mitzvah. They didn't uproot the mitzvah. They didn't say, do something against the Torah. They said, just sit at home, don't shake a lulav. Oh. So Chachamim don't have the right to uproot the mitzvah. So a lot of poskim say they didn't uproot the mitzvah. So if you did the mitzvah, you're mekayim the mitzvah. So then you don't have to do it the next day. You don't have to say the bracha the next day. But others point out the taisis that we mentioned in this Masechta. That is, that if a person sits in a small sukkah and his table is inside the house, the Gemara says we have to be geyser. He shouldn't sit like that. And if he sits, he's not yoy to the mitzvah. Says Taisvis, he's not yoy at all. So over there you see that they uprooted a mitzvah. Okay, there's a whole beautiful nidan over here. Says the Gemara, Yachi yoim rishaynami. So let's uproot. Let's say they should not shake a lulav on the first day of Yantiv. If first day of Yantiv falls out on Shabbos, we do shake a lulav. Why is that? Well, not us. We're going to get to us and what happens in our days. If you look at the end of the Mishnah yesterday, the last words we said yesterday, there was a big fight. Oh, I had a lot of charata because I found a great picture. I found it because I actually made it myself. Here, in the Beis Hamikdash, the Mamish went to war with the Lulavim. It became dangerous. That was the end of the Mishnah. So they said, you know what? You're putting yourself in sakana. Just go ahead and shake it at home. Don't even bring it to shul. So there was no concern that people are going to schlep their lulav outside into the Rosh Hashanah for Amos. They know. They have a sign here. Stay at home. Shake it at home. Says the Gemara, okay, that was later on, a different generation when they made it takana. What happened all the years beforehand where they used to shake a lulav on Shabbos in the Beis Hamikdash? What happened then? How come we're not concerned they're going to walk 4 hours? So the pshat is like this. You hear Rabbi say, Rishon, the first day is so chashav and so chamor. It's so important. Why? Because it pushes off even outside of Yerushalayim, outside of the Beis Hamikdash. Lo gazu b'Rabbanon, hanach the lesson when Torah b'gvulin gazu b'Rabbanon. But the other days that is not minat Torah outside of Yerushalayim, so Rabbanon made a gzeira. Ask the Gemara, Hachi, Hoynanami, today, how come a lulav doesn't push off Shabbos? If it's so chashiv, so chomer, that you're supposed to do it everywhere. So push off Shabbos. Hoynanami. Says the Gemara, Anan lo yedinon b'kibur yarcha. So, going back a step, since it was so chomer, Rabbanon were geyser even in the Beis Hamikdash. Fine, and that's where Rashi comes and says this whole thing. How could it be oiker something d'oraisa? Anyway, anan lo yedina b'kibud yarcha. So we're going to mention this a few times, a couple of times I should say. Very, very simple. Here's a calendar. I just grabbed a random month. In the time of the Beis Hamikdash, they didn't have a calendar, so they would make Rosh Chodesh based on Eidim, on testimony, when they saw the moon, the new moon. So a month, Elul, could either be 29 days, and if they see the moon here, this becomes Rosh Chodesh, the blue, or the month, the previous month, could be 30 days. And if they see the moon over here, they testify and Rosh Chodesh becomes Aleph. The issue is, and this explains, we're going to understand a lot better today why it is that my wife wants to live in Eretz Yisrael. Her main reason is because you don't have 2 days Yantiv here in Eretz Yisrael. For that alone, it's worth for her to live here for 365 days in a 2,000 square foot home instead of a 12. It's not to have 2 days Yantiv. Okay, great. So, well, that's what she says. If you live in Bavel, you live in Iraq, you don't have a cell phone, you don't have a tractor, you don't have a 4x4 vehicle, how long does it take to get, for a human being to traverse from Israel to Iraq on a donkey? It takes more than 15 days. So the people in Bavel, they weren't sure, is Rosh Chodesh in the blue circle or Rosh Chodesh is in the red circle? It could only be one of these two, because they knew what the previous month was, because it took less than 30 days. But they didn't know what the coming month is. And if Rosh Chodesh is in the red circle here, so Yantiv on the Tesvav falls out over here. But if Rosh Chodesh is in the blue circle over here, so Yantiv falls out on Yud over here. So which day is Yantiv? We don't know. So we have to keep 2 days Yantiv. So Anan, in Bavel, they didn't know where Rosh Chodesh is. Inu. So therefore, they can't push off. Because maybe you're not doing the first day of Yantiv. Today is Shabbos. So if today is Shabbos, the Torah says you should shake a lulav on Shabbos. But maybe today's Shabbos is the second day of Yantiv. Maybe Yontif happened in the blue. And now you're on a random day. You're not on, it's not the first day of Yontif today. You don't know. So you can't push off Shabbos. As the Gemara, the other people, the Yarcha Lidchu, but we live in Eretz Yisrael. We know when they saw the moon, to get from Yerushalayim to every place in Eretz Yisrael is a few days. And everybody in Eretz Yisrael knows when Yontif is going to be. By Tezvav, by the 15th of the month, everybody knows already. Einachanami, you're right. So it does push off. The Tani Chada, and I'll prove it to you. Because yesterday we had in our Mishnah, it says the Lashon in the Mishnah that everybody brings the lulav to Harabayis. Remember, in Harabayis, they had a bus stop, they had an overhang, they had a bench. Harabayis. V'tanya, idach, and we learned that Daf Mem Aleph just one daf ago. Lebeis HaKnesses. Everybody would bring the lulav to the shul. What's the difference? Beis HaMikdash, Beis HaKnesses. Why the different language? The answer is, Shema Mino, Kam Bizman Beis HaMikdash Kayim. You bring it to Harabayis because it's a Beis HaMikdash. There's somewhere to bring it to. Kam Bizman Shein Beis HaMikdash Kayim. The other Mishnah that says about a shul is because we're talking about there's no Beis HaMikdash, and even though there's no Beis HaMikdash, but we're in Eretz Yisrael, it pushes off Shabbos, even though there's no Beis HaMikdash. Shema Mino. So in Eretz Yisrael we push off Shabbos for now. This is what the Gemara understands now. That I'll tell you that if you don't live in Eretz Yisrael, we do not shake a lulav in shul on Shabbos. But over here the Gemara says we do. We have two Mishnayos that say there's a difference between even Bizman She'ein Beis HaMikdash Kayim in Eretz Yisrael, you bring your lulav to shul. Shema Mino. This men HaTorah b'gvul Manola. How do you know that Yontif Rishon outside of the Beis HaMikdash Zechiv De'Oraisa, you have to push it off everything. The Sanyu lekachtem shtei lekicha biyad kol echad ve'echad. So let me just show you real quickly. This is the original chart I used a few days ago. I was thinking to myself, how do I get 5 drushes in there? Baruch Hashem, great idea. Well, here we go. Very nice. This hay is a lima by itself. So Gemara says like this. Each and every individual has to bring a lulav. It's not one lulav for all of Klal Yisrael. Everybody brings a lulav. Lochem cannot be stolen. It cannot be borrowed. It has to be yours. We discussed this. Matana manas lahachzir shma matana. Bayayim. It doesn't say what day. Any day, even on Shabbos. Ha is an exclusion. Ha rishon, the first day, means only the first day of Yontif pushes off Shabbos. Rishon, here we are, right here, this is what we want to know. Rishon, gvulin, outside of Yerushalayim, also has the same halacha. Says the Gemara, zoom thing. Okay, right over here. Lochem, from the word lochem, mishalochem, it should be yours. Lohaitzi is a shol, ve'es a gazel, to exclude a borrowed and a stolen lulav. Big tzaddik, he steals a lulav to do a mitzvah. No. Bayoim, says Rashi, it's extra. The green word is extra. Why? Because it should say, ulekachtem lochem barishain, on the first day. What's bayoim harishain? Bayoim v'afilu b'Shabbos comes to teach us that you shake a lulav even on Shabbos. Rishain, the word rishain is not extra. Afilu b'gvulim, just it doesn't say rishain. Doesn't say where. Where do you take the lulav? It doesn't say the place. Anywhere, even outside of the Beis HaMikdash. Harishain, the extra hey, milamed, which is hey idea the, and now this is not a riboy like bayoim is extra. Over here, this is a miyot. This is an exclusion. Milamed. Shenedoicha elo yontav harishain bilvad. The only day that it is that if Shabbos falls out. Here, I made this for a little later, but we can use it now. Why not? Oh, gewaldige stuff. If Shabbos falls out on the first day of Yontiv, you take your lulav. If Shabbos falls out on the second, third, fourth day, you do not. It's only when Shabbos falls out on day one. That's what the pasuk over here says. Yontiv Rishon. The first day of Sukkot that falls out on Shabbos, you push off Shabbos and you shake a lulav. But you do not push off Shabbos on Chol HaMoed. Omar Bayom Afilu B'Shabbos. Ask the Gemara. Yeah. So we just said Omar. We just said Bayom. We said it's extra word. Afilu B'Shabbos. You're supposed to shake a lulav even Shabbos. For that you need a pasuk. Michdi. What is the issue? Tiltul Ba'almahu. We're talking about Muktzah. Muktzah is the Rabbanan. Comes later. So Itzrich Kra Lemishri Tiltul. You think HaKadosh Baruch Hu wrote in his Torah an extra word to tell you that in later generations when Chachamim make a gzeira and they say you shouldn't carry, you shouldn't touch muktzah, I'm coming to undo what Chachamim are doing in 1,000 years? Can't be. Amazing. We had the same idea by Bris Milah. When the Torah says perform a mitzvah and you don't have to worry about Shabbos, you go ahead and you shake a lulav on Shabbos. Did the Torah say that you could also cut the lulav on Shabbos? That you can make a saw to cut the lulav on Shabbos? To what point? Machshir mitzvah, anything that's Issa D'Oraisa. You're not allowed to cut a lulav on Shabbos, on a regular Shabbos. It's Issa D'Oraisa. You're not allowed to tie and bundle up your lulav with the aravas and adasim. Issa D'Oraisa. It's tying on Shabbos. To tie something to make a knot on Shabbos is Issa D'Oraisa. So even the machshirei mitzvah, even the side things that help the mitzvah are also mutter. Where do we have this? Same Rebbe Eliezer in Milah. Could you make a knife for the bris milah? Could you do other things, perform other things that are machshir, not the actual cutting of the bris, but bringing the knife to the shul? It goes according to that one Tana, the Sanya Lulav Chol Machshirov, Doichen is Shabbos. Not just shaking the Lulav, but everything that's around and around the Lulav, making the knot for the Lulav is also Mot the Divrei Rebbe Eliezer. My time of the Rebbe Eliezer, what's his Svara, Makro, Bayoim, Va'afilu B'Shabbos. The Torah, that's why the Torah says Bayoim. In other words, why is the Torah saying you could shake a Lulav on Shabbos? You hear this, Rabbi Isai, very gewaldic. It can't be that the Torah is saying that you could shake a lulav. There's no isser to shake a lulav. The only isser is the rabbanon of muktzah. It's not a doiraisa. So why would the Torah want to undo it? It's the rabbanon. Obviously, the Torah is not saying that you should shake a lulav on Shabbos. The Torah is saying you should make a knot on Shabbos. You should cut the tree. You should cut the lulav itself off the tree on Shabbos. That's what the Torah is saying. That's why there's an extra word by yoy. Rabbanon, hi by yoy, my avdilay. But rabbanon who say that there is. Rabbanon that say that it's osur to do machshirim, right? They argue in Rebbe Eliezer. They say that it's osur to cut the lulav itself on Yontiv, on Shabbos. So hi bayom avdilay. Rebbe Eliezer is the one that learns from bayom that you could cut a lulav on Shabbos, but they say you're not allowed to. So then what do they do with the extra word bayom? When do you shake a lulav? During the daytime. You don't shake a lulav, there's no mitzvah to shake it at night. Once it's nighttime, it's too late. And how does he know that you shake a lulav only during the daytime? From the end of the pasuk. For that we could use that old chart. When we learn it all the way in the beginning, Yomim veloy leiloi. So you see, Shivas Yomim. Remember this. This is very important because it says it in other places in the Torah. It says by Sukkah, it says by Miluim. Shivas Yomim. 7 days. Yomim, days. That's almost the Shivas, although it is similar over there with the Yomim. So it says during the day, that's when Usmachtem is referring to the Simcha of bringing a lulav and esrog. And it says during Yomim, only daytime. Say Rabbanon, guess what? There's another pasuk that has the same exact words. Shivas Yomim. Basukkah's Teishvu. So learn from Sukkah. And Sukkah applies to the nighttime. You're supposed to sleep in a Sukkah at night. Yeah, it has the same words. Shivas Yomim, Shivas Yomim. Learn from here. Zog the Gemara. Malal and Yomim Afilo Leil is by. They should skip. Rabbanim Azam have Amin Leil of Yomim. Yomim is Sukkah. Learn Lulav from Sukkah. Malal Yomim Afilo Leil is Avgam Yomim Afilo Leil. V'Sukkah. Okay. So Mela, I have my own thing. V'Sukkah Gufim and all. How do I know Sukkah you sleep during the nighttime also? Torah Rabbanim Sukkah stage when you eat, you want to eat, you have to eat in the Sukkah even if it's after Shkia. The Torah Rabbanim Sukkah stage Shivas Yomim. Yomim V'Afilu Leilois. So we learn it. That it means even night. Maybe the word yomim comes to exclude night. It says day. Vidinhu. Nemar kan yomim. V'nemar v'lulav yomim. Malal yomim v'leilois. Afkan yomim v'leilois. We learn it from lulav now. Now we have a problem. You can learn sukkah. You learn sukkah from lulav, and lulav is during the day. Or you could learn Sukkah from here. From Miluim. Same thing. Shivas Yom, Shivas Yom. What's Miluim? Miluim is when they inaugurate the Beis Hamikdash. Baruch Hu told Aaron and his sons, stay in the Azara, stay there for 7 straight days. So, by Miluim, it's all day and all night. So, Meichatesa to learn Sukkah from a Lulav and say that it's only during the daytime, perhaps learn Sukkah from Miluim, that's also nighttime. Says the Gemara, well, the typical classic Gemara, if you have an option, you could learn Sukkah either from Lulav or from Miluim, so you have to see what Sukkah is more similar to. Let's take a look. Nir lemi daima. Who is it similar to? Danim davar shemitzvasei kol hayoyim. Midavar shemitzvasei kol hayoyim. Miluim is all day long, and Sukkah is all day. You eat, sleep. It's things that you do all day. Vayichiach davar shemitzvasei sha'achas. As we mentioned yesterday, when you pick up an esrog for a moment, for a second, you yaitza. That's it. The mitzvah lasts for 1 second. Yes, we go to shul and we shake a lot, and we do hoidu and ana. That's all. That's shi'arei mitzvah, so to speak. Those are the extra stuff that are not part of the mitzvah. The mitzvah is that 1 second, and that's why we flip the esrog upside down. We have in mind not to be yaitza. But the mitzvah only lasts for a second. So Mela, Sukkah is a lot more similar to Miluim, which is 24/7, or at least 12 hours, compared to the Lulav, that's 1 second. Oh, sorry, it says the Gemara. Or perhaps, no. There's something else that Sukkah is more similar to Lulav than to Miluim. Lulav lasts forever. All the generations have to bring a Lulav. So Sukkah should be learned out from a Lulav, whereas Miluim was a one-time deal. And for that, says the Gemara, we're turning to Daf Mem Gimel Amud Beis. Teishvu, L'Gzeira Shava. We have Gzeira Shava. Take a look. It says over here, Teishvu in green. That's by the Miluim. Upesach Oyel Mayed is the Miluim. But it says the word Teishvu. And it says Basukkah is Teishvu. So the 2 greens are Gzeira Shava, which we don't make up. It comes from Halacha Moshe Sinai, or Moshe Rabbeinu received it on Har Sinai. And therefore, I compare a Sukkah to Miluim, and Miluim is 24/7. Sukkah, the chiyuv to sit in a Sukkah and sleep in a Sukkah 24/7. Nemarkan, literally 24 hours, 7 days. Nemarkan teishvu, v'nemar Miluim teishvu. Malan yom afilu leilis, avkan yom afilu leilis. We just turned to the Mem Gimel Amud Beis, sponsored by the MDY Tehillim Group. For all those who need Shidduchim Refuahs and Yeshuas, please join Tehillim.com. And by Shlomo Lazarian from LA, in honor of Rebelli's wife Faige, for sacrificing her life in order for Rebelli to prepare the shir. I showed it to my wife. She enjoyed it very much. Yishkoyach Shlomo.
When YOSSI KLEIN's bar mitzvah.
Ooh. So first of all, we're talking about Simchas. Mazel Tov, huge Mazel Tov to Leon Welcher. Leon Welcher made a chasana last night, so tremendous Mazel Tov. Leon Welcher, I have a lot of akar satayv to him. It was 2 years ago, literally a little over 2 years ago, I was sitting in South Africa in a restaurant, and he walked over to me and he said, Shalom Aleichem, what do you do? I said, a little real estate, but I do this thing called 8-minute daf. He says, perfect. I have an app that I developed for Usher Weiss, and I want to give it to you for free. I want to develop for you. He worked on it for months. He has a tech guy, worked on it, and he gifted me this app that many, many people use. So yishkoyach to him. And I have a tremendous hakar satayv to YOSSI KLEIN. YOSSI KLEIN in New York, person after person after person, I started Sukkah. I got a free Gemara and started. It was his idea, his initiative. He pushed it. He paid for a lot of it. So tremendous hakar satayv. And tonight, his son Yontif is having a bar mitzvah, and he should be zoicha to be just as great as his father and more. Arava Shiva Ketzad. Oh, so now, going back, we had this beautiful mitzvah. You know, it's interesting. I bet you, I didn't take a poll or anything. I bet you 50% of the people that haven't learned Masechet Sukkah before in their life never even knew there's a concept of Arava in the Beis Hamikdash, that they used to walk around the Mizbeach and do hakafas of the Mizbeach. Now, yeah, you think to yourself, why do we do hashanas every day in Sukkot? Well, it's to commemorate this. But here's the mitzvah. Arava Shiva Ketzad. How does it work that you have an Arava, you bring it even on Shabbos? So the Mishnah says, you bring it on Shabbos when? You have to find that Givaldic chart. I had a lot I know from this chart. Where is it? I see it, but I can't get to it. Here it is. This is what the Mishnah says. The Arava pushes off Shabbos only if Shabbos falls out on the 7th day of Sukkot. If Shabbos falls out on the 6th, 5th, 4th, 4th, even the 1st, you do not touch an Arava on Shabbos. Whereas the Lulav, it's only if Shabbos falls out on day number 1. But if Shabbos falls out on day number 7, you do not touch your Lulav. It doesn't push off Shabbos. So now, the Gemara wants to understand what's going on here. Why? Why is a Lulav different than a Lulav than an Arava? What's going on here? Arava Shiva Ketzad. Arava b'shvi my time edach Shabbos. So why does it push off Shabbos? Omer Rabbi Yochanan kedei lefarsamo she'imin haTorah. So what's the Gemara's kasha? Lulav. The reason why we said Lulav pushes off Shabbos because it's so chomer. Remember, we said Lulav is special. It's also outside of Yerushalayim, but Arava is not outside of Yerushalayim. Arava is only inside the Beis Hamikdash in one spot in the Beis Hamikdash around the Mizbeach. So it's not so chomer. So if it's not so chomer, it doesn't have what the Gemara said on Amud Aleph, that's why it pushes off Shabbos. So then Gemara is asking, so then why does a Arava push off Shabbos if it doesn't have that special aspect that it's also outside of Yerushalayim? People don't know that it exists, this idea. You'll tell somebody there's a Rava in the Beis Hamikdash, they'll say, I don't know what you're talking about. I never learned Daf Yomi. And you're going to tell him that it's a deraisa. What are you, out of your mind? Where does it say in the Torah that you have to take an Arava and walk around the Mizbeach? Well, I'm telling you that's deraisa. And not only is it deraisa, pushes off Shabbos. Typically, you can't hold an Arava on Shabbos. I'm telling you, you should do it on Shabbos. Why? Lefarsem. You have to advertise the fact that there's a mitzvah called Arava, because it's not mefurish in the Torah. For 1,000 points, does anybody remember, and it wasn't so long ago, it was less than 2 weeks ago, I believe. What daf was it? Daf Lamed Gimel. Daf Lamed Gimel, you can look it up, for 1,000 points. How do we know that you bring an Arava in the Beis Hamikdash? So what Mendel we had was Abba Shol, we're going to talk about him later on, not today, is that it says in the pasuk Arvei, plural. Remember? Arvei, the mitzvah to get an Arava from the creek, from the river, that a lot of you are going to do this year. The special Munsi Aravas from the water, whatever. But the other Mandomer, Abba Shol says, Arvei is two. There's two types of Aravas. One goes in your Lulav, one is around the Mizbeach, so it's a Doiraisa. And the other, the Chachamim say no, it was a halacha l'Moshe Messinai. But the bottom line is, to go around the Mizbeach with the Rava is Doiraisa. Says the Gemara, Ihachi. So you're telling me that this Arava pushes off Shabbos in order to advertise the fact Ihachi lulav nami litchi kidei lefarsamoi shumen atayra. Lulav is also not exactly. We're not sure that it's all 7 days. You could say, Rashi explains, Usmachtem lefnei Hashem Elokeichem. Who said that this usmachtem, which we discussed many times, Simcha Yontev, we had yesterday even, Shlomim, maybe it's referring to eating meat for 7 days. Who said it means shaking a lulav for 7 days? It's not a mefurish, so if it's not so mefurish, maybe we have to advertise the fact. Says the Gemara, Gzeira, lulav, Gzeira, Mishum de Rabba. We said in the Amud Aleph, on top of Amud Aleph, we're concerned that if you say you could shake a lulav on Shabbos, he's going to go outside in Rosh Hashanah and walk 4 hours to his Rebbe to ask him how to do Nusach Svar. Arava nami nigzor. But Arava also, maybe he's going to go ask his rabbi, what kind of bracha, what do you do? Arava shluchi bezdin ma'isila. Nah, don't worry about it. Arava is taken care of from the bezdin in the Beis Hamikdash. They know what they're doing. You have the kohanim. Only kohanim could go around, be makif the mizbeach. Why only a kohen? Because Yisrael is not allowed in there. So only the kohanim go around the mizbeach like that. So shluchi bezdin ma'isila lulav lakol maser. The concern is more for lulav that the hamoinam, the entire nation brings lulav. They're going to mess up. The Bezdin and the Beis Hamikdash won't mess up. They'll bring the Arava before Shabbos. They know what they're doing. The Kohanim are the one that don't worry about it. Says the Gemara, Yachi, if there's zero concern that somebody's going to walk on Shabbos 4 Amos with an Arava, right? Even look at these pictures. You have these massive Aravas. I don't know, that's Chiyuv, but it's not like one little Arava you put on. The Gemara says soon, we're going to see. It was big Aravas. So, only the Bezdin does this. Only the Bezdin does it. So what's the concern? So why is it that the Arava only pushes off this final Shabbos day? If Shabbos falls out on 7, then it pushes it off. If Shabbos falls out on 6, you don't bring in Arava and Beis Hamikdash. Why not? There's no concern that you're going to go to the rabbi and walk 4 hours. Says the Gemara, YOSSI lefakpuke belulav. People are going to say, look at this. Arava pushes off Shabbos on any day of the week, on any day of the Yontif. Any day of Yontif, 6th day of Yontif falls out on Shabbos, you bring in Arava. 5th day. Lulav only on day number 1 pushes off Shabbos. So what are people going to say? They're going to say that Lulav is a weak mitzvah. It's not as strong as the Arava. Okay. Now, by the way, in our days, so we don't push off Shabbos for hashanas. So do you say hashana as a commemoration to the Beis Hamikdash and the fact that they walked around the Beis on Shabbos? Or maybe not. So it's a massive, massive machloikis from all over the place. The Shulchan Aruch says that you just say the words hashana. I think that's what we do today. A lot of us. The Shulchan Aruch Harav, and then I would understand that Lubavitch doesn't say it. The Chida says not to say anything. The Vilna Gaon, and a lot of times the Balatani and the Gaon say the same thing. The Vilna Gaon explains, he says, in the Beis Hamikdash, if they didn't have Arava, they didn't just say words. So why would we just say words if we don't have the Arava? We're not allowed to hold the Arava. Okay. Anyways, it's a massive machlokes. You just know that there's a lot of minhagim in this. Fine. Weiter. Ask the Gemara, okay, you only want to give it 1 Shabbos, 1 day to commemorate the Arava, because you don't want it to be better than the Lulav. So why don't you put this Arava together with the Lulav and say, only when Shabbos falls out on the 1st day of Yontif, could you take the Arava? Why do you push him off to the 7th day of Yontif? Says Gemara, nobody's going to realize that you're doing something special for Arava. You want to advertise the fact that Arava is a Doiraisa, that they walked around the Mizbeach. In the Torah they says it. Well, if you do it together with the lulav, they're going to say, you're pushing Shabbos off because you want to do a lulav. It just happens to be that you're just taking another arava with you also. So you want to make a special Shabbos that only the arava is being mechal Shabbos, so to speak, and say, look, the reason why you push off Shabbos is because it's a deraisa. So then you want to do a different day than lulav, great. So what if Shabbos falls out on the 4th day of Yom Tov? So push that off. Why dafka 7? Where did you get the number 7? Says the Gemara, keeping the Gemakus the Marisha Nukmashvi. We wanted to set a special day. 7 and 1. 1 and 7. We don't want to say, whenever Shabbos falls out. Special day. Now, how come in our day, today, we don't do Arava? We should push off. Why? Says the Gemara, and again, we don't know about. Should we do this again? We can't push off Yom Tov. We can't push off for Arava in our days because we have no idea when Yom Tov started. Maybe Yom Tov started on this day right over here. Rosh Chodesh was on this day, so therefore Yom Tov is over here. Or Rosh Chodesh was over here, and Yom Tov starts over here. Therefore, we cannot push off a Shabbos. We don't know when the 7 fell out. Maybe 7 is not 7. Maybe it's 8. Says the Gemara, but in Eretz Yisrael, where they're Bekim in the calendar, or not that they're Bekim in the calendar, sorry. The Bekim, they know when Rosh Chodesh happens because they live in Eretz Yisrael. They're right there where it happened. Even if they're a few hours away, a few kilometers away, they'll figure it out in a day or two, but they know when Yom Tov starts. Says the Gemara, they should push it off. So I want to point out something here. A very important thing. A lot of people ask, why is it that in America, in Chutz La'aretz, in England, all these places, in Australia, I see somebody in Australia here. Why is it Robert driving around? Where is he, Robert? I don't see him now. But anyway, why is it that we keep 2 days? We have a calendar. We know exactly when Yom Tov starts, begins, ends, the whole thing. So there's a question from the Rishonim. It says in Gemara Beitza, which Be'ezer Hashem Rabbi, so we're about to start in 2 weeks. It says over there that today we are Bucky in a calendar. We know. Over here it says we don't know. In Bavel, we don't know when the calendar. So the answer is that the Gemara in Beitza is going according to those days after Hillel was Misak in a calendar. He figured out the calendar, he said this is it. And where it says by us that we don't know when Yom Tov starts, or when Rosh Chodesh is, therefore we don't know when Yom Tov, so we didn't have the calendar. So then the question is, but if we have a calendar, then why do we do 2 days Yom Tov? Everybody's question. This is the sugi right here. The answer is, we'll probably see it again, debates and all that. The answer is, because when Hillel made the calendar, he did it on condition that we don't change anything, that we keep the 2 days. He was worried that we're not going to have a calendar, whatever the reason is, whatever his reasoning was. He said, I'm going to teach you a trick. I know how to figure out the calendar. I'm going to tell you the calendar. But I want you to keep the same chumras that you had before in Chutz La'aretz of the 2-day Yom Tov. That's what the Ritva explains. By the way, another very interesting shayla. We don't have time for this. So we got to go weiter. But I'll just say, Bekitzer Nimrod, a lot in Eretz Yisrael, which is not in the borders of Eretz Yisrael, is it considered like Chutz La'aretz or not? So if somebody goes there for Yom Tov, for any Yom Tov, does he keep 1 day, 2 days? And even if we say that it's within Eretz Yisrael, there's another problem. Because the Eidim never got there. Eidim always went to say testimony. We know where they went. They went to Tzfat, they went here, but they never went to Eilat. So maybe even if it's within the borders of Eretz Yisrael, it's considered 2 days. I never heard of anybody doing 2-day Yom Tov over there. But it seems like there are a lot of Achroinim who hold they have to do 2-day Yom Tov in Eilat. I'll just tell you that my Chavrusa will never go to Eilat because he won't leave Eretz Yisrael. And for other reasons also. Jumped. So Bar Hadia says, I'll tell you why. we never let Shabbos fall out on the 7th day of Yontif. Because of this reason. We don't want people to start getting confused and saying, does push off, doesn't push off. Look, there is no Arava. The whole point is the show. So, Bizman Hazeh, we don't allow it. When Chachamim see that's about to fall out, they'll add another day to the calendar. They'll add another day to Rosh Chodesh and make sure that Shabbos never falls out on 7. And Ravin, when he came, and all those who left Eretz Yisrael went down to Bavel, and the Rishonim say that that's when there's a lot of confusion in Torah, and that's why there's a lot of machlokes and ikla v'loi dachi. It's not true. It does fall out. The 7th day does fall out on Shabbos, and you do not bring in Arava. Velokashio. Why? Why not? Why is Arava not push off Shabbos? We have to advertise the fact today. It's the Raisa. Who told you what they did in the Beis Hamikdash? Perhaps, who said that this picture is right? That they, let's see if the picture, no, even in this picture, you see that they weren't holding the Arava. The Arava was just up against the Mizbeach. Maybe that's what happened. And if that's what happened, then you're not commemorating it today by holding. Why should you hold it? We don't have a Mizbeach, so there's nothing to lean it up against. There's no commemoration. And to hold it is not what they did in the Beis Hamikdash. So that doesn't push off Shabbos. It says that a lulav and arava could be 6 or 7 days. My love, kill lulav. So puts it together. Lulav and arava. Ma lulav and atila. Since the two words go together, it's the same action. So just like lulav, you're holding it. So too arava, you're holding it. Maybe it seems like in the Beis Hamikdash they did hold the arava. Midiria, who told you such a thing? Okay, this is not true. Lulav they held. Arava they didn't hold. Who told you? It's not a proof. Okay, I'll give you another proof, says Abaya. It says 1 time, 7 times. What does times mean? If you're leaning Arava on a Mizbeach, it's not a time, it's not 1 time, it's not 2 times. It's obviously we're talking about Hakafas, like on Simchas Torah, 7 times going around. My lab Arava, Loi belulav. Okay, no raya because we're talking about a lulav. Omer Rav Nachman, or Rav Avua ba'Arava. Oh, but what about Rav Avua said Arava? Okay, good for him. He said Arava. I say it's not talking about Arava, it's talking about Lulav. Okay, so now we have a little machlokes. Rav Lulav says, talking about a Lulav, like the Gemara answered, Rav Shmuel bar Nosan Amar Rav Chanina bar Rava. So we have a problem. And Amalei Rava Rav Yitzchak b'rei the Rabbi Rav Chana, Rava said to Rav Yitzchak, the son of Rabbi Rav Chana, Bar Uriah, you're Ben Torah. Ta'im Avlach. I want to tell you something beautiful your father used to say. It says that every day of the 6 days of Yontif, they would go around the Mizbeach 1 time. In the final day of Yontif, 7th day of Yontif, 7 times like we do in Hashana Rabbah. It's with the lulav. It could be, that's why you would ask yourself a question. So how come we do hakafas and hashana, so we don't hold the arava? Like we should do like Hashana Rabbah. I should hold a bunch of. The answer is maybe because of this Gemara. Belulav. The Rishonim are not exactly clear. Seems from Rashi. That's what they from this. It was a Belulav, and that's why today we commemorate Belulav. We'll stop over here, Rabbi Isai. Have a wonderful day. Shkoyach Avi, you just woke up my whole family. Shkoyach. I'll leave it on for a minute. Thank you. Kanterovich. Was heißt doch Rav Kanterovich? Shalom Aleichem. New face on Zoom. Where are you from? From England? Oh, Tel Sion. Shalom Aleichem. How you doing? Your first time on Zoom? Your first time?
No, I'm on months here.
On Zoom?
Every day.
Pshee! Wow, I'm out of it. I'm pushed out of it. Sorry. Gewaldig. Mark, you recognize Kantorovich?
Absolutely.
I'm still a fool. Okay, sorry. When did you start?
You have to, like, once a month, you have to stay home and give the shir from home so you can see who's here. When you're in the base medrash.
Who's this guy, Dvir Nedwin? Is he new?
He's new.
Oh, he's been around a long time. He's a Chicagoan.
He's been around for 2 years.
He's a Chicago boy too.
He is?
Hey.
Oh, Nathan Harris. Tell me that he's new. I don't recognize him. Nathan, Shalom Aleichem. How you doing? Mark, how am I with Nathan? Did I get that right or no?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Whew. Avrumi Leibowitz is on for 3 years. I'm not kidding. He's on 3 years. I don't know about Zoom, but on YouTube he's on for 3 years.
You met my son in the 5 Towns.
Oh, Gewaldig. Oh, he looks familiar. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. What's his first name?
Yaakov.
Did he take a picture?
Yaakov Erez.
Remind me, who is he? What is he? What do you say? You said he's Atzala?
He's Atzala, yeah. He's also my brother-in-law, Barry Schleifer, is on for many years.
Oh, got it.
My brother-in-law.
Yeah.
In that time, how you doing?
Fine, Baruch Hashem. How are you, Jack?
Long
I
time.
see you all the time.
Yeah, I don't notice you all the time. You don't recognize you.
No, I very rarely turn my camera on.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
That's it. That's the problem.
Chaim Snow, I got the new camera. I got everything. Everything is good. Baruch Hashem, it's here in Eretz Yisrael. With the lens, with the 100-400 Sony lens.
Is that the Chaim Snow from the Lower East Side?
It's Chaim Snow. His father is a famous Rav in Borough Park.
Oh,
The Chaim Snow you're talking about is my uncle.
right.
Chaim, did you hear the story? You heard the beautiful story from Yisrael Goldstein and the lens? You heard?
No.
So the 100-400 lens is out of stock for 6 weeks. So he calls up.
Okay, fine, yeah.
He calls up B&H. He says, "Listen, I have this guy. I go to his shir. He just ordered the lens. It's on 4 to 6 weeks. Do me a favor, make sure it happens." So the guy says, "What's your Maggid Shir's name?" He says, "Eli Stefansky." He says, "Eli Stefansky, Satmar Chassid. I do the shir also." Next day, the lens was in my house. The next day.
Beautiful.
Small Jewish world. Small Jewish world.
I don't know why you messed me up until I had to have Mark send him 1,000 messages that'll tell you about YOSSI Klein's thing. But
hello, because you can't say it. Hello, you can't say it. You want to ruin the surprise on YouTube.